Tuesday, April 12th, 2016. A 16-year-old girl walked into her school at 8:20 in the morning. 5 minutes later, she walked out through the back. Here's what makes this case different from almost every other disappearance you have heard about. She left a trail: security cameras, bank records, witness accounts, a timeline investigators could trace across an entire city for hours. They knew where she went. They knew what she bought. They could see her sitting alone in a coffee shop, checking her phone, watching the entrance. They had more information than in most missing persons cases, and they still could not explain what happened to her. Her name was Mekayla Bali. She was 16 years old, and everything investigators needed to know existed just beyond what they could prove. This is her story. Before her face appeared on missing person posters across Canada, Mekayla Bali was just a teenager, trying to figure out who she was. She lived with her mother Paula in Yorkton, a small city in southeastern Saskatchewan, the kind of place where the same faces appear at the gas station, the grocery store, the school parking lot. 30,000 people, flat prairie horizon in every direction. The kind of city that is easy to know, and sometimes easy to want to leave. Mekayla was 16. She played violin. She talked about animals, about working with kids one day, about what kind of life she might build somewhere beyond the prairies. Her mother Paula described her the way most mothers describe their daughters, as someone with her whole life in front of her, someone still becoming herself. But Mekayla also had a world that existed beyond the one her family could see. She was online, the way every teenager is online, messaging, scrolling, meeting people, talking to individuals she may never have encountered in person, building connections that existed entirely through a screen. Nobody worried about that. Why would they? Millions of teenagers lived the same way. What investigators would later discover is that somewhere inside that digital world, something had been building for weeks. A conversation, a plan, a decision that had already been made long before the morning of April 12th. At the time, it was just another Tuesday. Mekayla's grandmother drove her to Sacred Heart High School that morning. An ordinary drive, the kind of routine that people rarely remember until something changes. At 8:20 a.m., security cameras captured her walking through the front doors, backpack over one shoulder, phone in her hand. Just another student arriving for another school day. About 5 minutes later, she walked back out, not through the front entrance, through the back. No confrontation, no emergency, no sign of panic. She simply left, and the school day continued without her. 8:51 a.m., TD Bank. Mekayla's first stop was a TD Bank branch on the other side of downtown Yorkton. Security cameras captured her waiting outside before the doors opened, standing alone, looking at her phone. Then the bank opened, and she went inside. She withdrew $55, not a large amount, not a small amount, just cash, in her pocket, before 9 in the morning on a Tuesday when she was supposed to be in class. From the bank, she walked to a nearby pawn shop, Terry's Pawn and Bargain. She was carrying a silver ring. The owner looked at it and told her it wasn't worth buying. She thanked him and left. 2 stops, cash she didn't have before, a ring she tried to sell. The morning had barely started. From the pawn shop, Mekayla made her way to a nearby Tim Hortons. She bought a drink, found a table, and sat down. Over the next hour, she barely left. Security cameras captured her at that table, phone in hand, eyes moving between the screen and the entrance, then back to the screen, then back to the entrance. At one point, she left through one exit, returned through another, moved to a different table, closer to the front windows, then settled again. People who reviewed the footage later described the same thing. She was waiting for something, or for someone. Around 10:43 a.m., she approached a woman she had never met. The request was unexpected. She asked if the woman would help her book a hotel room. The woman was surprised. A teenage girl, alone, on a school day, asking a stranger to help her rent a hotel room wasn't something she encountered often. She had questions. Mekayla offered very few answers. The woman declined to help. The conversation ended. Mekayla returned to her table. A few minutes later, she picked up her phone and sent a message to her friend Shelby. "Hey, I need help." 4 words, no context, no explanation, no detail about what kind of help she needed. About 20 minutes later, a second message followed. "Never mind, I figured it out."
It said, "I need help." And then like 20 minutes later, it said, "Never mind, I figured it out." It's a hard feeling, not knowing whether she's alive or not. I have God's Snapchat on my phone. She had Snapchat too. And I've sent her messages to your Snapchat, and she's opened them. Don't know if it's her or not.
Most of us have sent a message like that at some point. A moment where something feels too heavy to carry alone, and you reach out to the person you trust most. And most of us have also sent a version of the second one. When the reply didn't come quickly enough, when the moment passed, when you decided or convinced yourself that you didn't need help after all. Maybe that's all this was, a teenage girl having a hard morning, reaching out, not getting an answer fast enough, and moving on. It's possible, it's even likely in isolation. But Mekayla didn't move on. She stayed at that table. She kept watching the entrance. She kept checking her phone. And whatever she had figured out, she never told anyone what it was. Those 2 messages, sent and resolved within 20 minutes, would become among the most discussed details of the entire case. Not because of what they said, because of what they didn't say. Something had felt urgent enough for Mekayla to reach out. And then, just as suddenly, it was handled. The problem, whatever it was, appeared to be solved. Around mid-morning, the trail goes cold. For nearly an hour, there is no confirmed surveillance footage of Mekayla, no reliable witnesses, no clear record of where she went or who she may have met. It is one of the largest gaps in the entire timeline, a period investigators have never been able to fully reconstruct. Whatever happened during that hour, whoever she spoke to, wherever she went, none of it was captured. Just before noon, Mekayla appeared back at Sacred Heart High School, briefly. She spoke with 2 students she knew. She mentioned she was going to Regina, a vacation, she said. She seemed calm. At 12:03 p.m., security cameras captured her walking out through the back entrance for the second time that day. This time, she did not come back. From the school, Mekayla walked toward the STC bus depot, about a mile away, through downtown Yorkton. At the depot, she asked about bus schedules. She was told the next bus to Regina wouldn't leave until later that afternoon. She did not buy a ticket. Instead, she went into the Trail Stop restaurant connected to the station. She ordered food, found a seat, and waited. Witnesses who were there described her as calm. Nothing about her appearance suggested panic or fear. She looked like a teenager passing time, ordinary, unremarkable. She stayed for nearly an hour. Then, sometime around 1:45 p.m., she walked out through the door. Nobody has been able to confirm where she went after that. It would become the last confirmed sighting of Mekayla Bali.
We have not been able to move a positive identification or a confirmation of where Mekayla was past that 1:45 timeline at the Yorkton bus station. That is information that we can't move past. People just don't vanish without anybody knowing anything. There is someone out there who knows something.
When investigators began reviewing the surveillance footage from April 12th, one detail appeared again and again. The phone. It was in her hand, outside the bank, inside Tim Hortons, while she waited, while she changed tables, while she watched the entrance. Whatever was driving her decisions that day, much of it was being communicated through that screen. The challenge wasn't figuring out whether Mekayla had been in contact with people. She had been. That much was clear. The challenge was figuring out who and what those conversations had asked of her. As investigators spoke with friends and family, something important emerged. The idea of leaving Yorkton hadn't appeared out of nowhere on April 12th. Mekayla had mentioned it before, several times. Regina, Saskatoon, Prince Albert. Different cities, different plans, but the same underlying idea: leaving, starting over, going somewhere else. At the time, nobody thought much of it. Teenagers talk about leaving. They imagine different futures. Most never act on it. But after April 12th, those conversations suddenly meant something different, because investigators discovered that much of Mekayla's social life extended well beyond the people she saw every day. Like millions of teenagers, she spent time online, messaging, connecting, talking to people she had never met in person. Some of those contacts were identified, some were interviewed, others were far harder to trace, and that created a problem. Online conversations don't leave behind the same evidence as a phone call or a text. Accounts can be deleted, usernames can disappear. Platforms designed for privacy leave almost no trace at all. By the time investigators gained legal access to Mekayla's digital accounts, much of what had been said was already gone. What they did recover was this: evidence of communication, evidence of connections, evidence that Mekayla had been talking to people her family didn't know, but not necessarily the specific conversations that had influenced her decision to walk out of school that morning. One claim added another layer of difficulty. One of the students who had spoken with Mekayla on April 12th later suggested she may have had access to a second phone, a device investigators never found and could not confirm existed. If that was true, it meant that a significant portion of her communications that day may have been invisible from the start. As the investigation expanded, several names attracted attention, people who had been in contact with Mekayla before she vanished. One name in particular kept appearing in conversations with friends. A man named Christopher, reported to be from North Carolina, had communicated with Mekayla online in the period before her disappearance. According to people close to her, she had mentioned him. She had said he was planning to come to Saskatchewan, that they would meet. Investigators located Christopher and interviewed him. He confirmed knowing Mekayla and acknowledged that they had spoken online, but he denied any involvement in what happened on April 12th. Police found no evidence placing him in Canada that day. He was not charged with any offense in connection with the case. Investigators continued following other names, other leads. None produced a definitive answer. What they were left with was a picture that was detailed in some places and completely blank in others. Two questions running in parallel. The first, where did Mekayla go? The second, who had she been talking to? The first question was already difficult. The second may have been impossible to fully answer, because the conversations that mattered most, the ones that might explain the bank withdrawal, the hotel room requests, the messages asking for help, were the ones that had already been erased. Investigators came to believe this was not random, not a chance encounter. What they were looking at was something calculated, built over weeks, through online contact, long before April 12th ever arrived. Mekayla Bali has spoken about this publicly, not with certainty. There is no certainty in this case, but with the particular instinct of a mother who has spent years trying to understand.
I devote myself to finding you. There is no more sense of sane or normality or continuity in a fractured family. One can't sit at a dining room table with an empty spot. One can't sleep in a comfy bed not knowing where your child is.
Something influenced her that day, something that made her feel like she had to leave. But belief is not proof, and proof was exactly what the case lacked. The conversations that might have explained everything were already gone. At 6:51 a.m. on April 13th, the morning after she disappeared, Mekayla's phone was switched off. It never came back on.
When her cell phone stops working and the last time she's seen by her friends is basically the last contact we have of her with anyone. I don't want to say that Mekayla fell off the face of this earth, but for someone, just to disappear without reaching out and contacting family and friends, especially in this day and age with technology.
The years passed. The question didn't. Mekayla Bali has not stopped searching. She has given interviews. She has spoken at events. She has kept her daughter's name in front of anyone who would listen, not because she believes it will be easy, because she refuses to let it become a cold case that people forget. Today, Mekayla would be 26 years old. There is a particular cruelty in cases like this one, the cruelty of almost enough to answer the one question that matters. What happened after 1:45 p.m. on April 12, 2016? Nobody has answered that question. Mekayla Bali was 16 years old when she disappeared from Yorkton, Saskatchewan. Her case is still open. Somewhere, someone knows what she was told. Somewhere, someone knows who was waiting. and somewhere, a mother is still waiting for the phone to ring.